Hey y'all, it's Kim. So it's Saturday. I've already been out walking, so of course my hair looks frizzy. But we gotta watch Lefties losing it. And of course it says the left's violent uprising. If y'all have seen anything over the past few weeks, duh, they are definitely violent. But if we retaliate, then we're the bad guys, right? So let's see what's going on. And some of the rhetoric, obviously, that's been coming out of these people's mouths is what's causing a lot of these problems, too. Like, as far as our Congress people, you keep calling somebody a name, and people are going to assume that it's true. Yeah, because they're like uninformed voters. But anyway, let me get this out of here. For whatever reason, uh, it's putting that in here. Anyway, just know that violence is not the answer, okay? So let's go and play this. Miss Rita's got, I'm sure, plenty to talk about.
Good evening and welcome to a program devoted entirely to lefties losing it. And what is it with the left and violence? They cannot help themselves time and time again. They resort to violence, whether it's mass violence, like we saw with the BLM and Antifa riots, or one-on-one violence like this next clip. Watch here as this lefty loses it during a discussion about abortion, attacking a pro-life activist, Savannah Craven and Tahoe.
I think that you just don't understand the magnitude of having a child. Yeah, well, I'm not the one who admitted they would be okay with killing babies in foster care and killing children that have been abused. That's not the point. What I'm saying. That's ridiculous.
Charming. That punch left Savannah bruised and bleeding, but it's okay because the charming abortion enthusiast who threw that punch,
she should have been arrested.
Apologized. Well, sort of. Brianna Rivers of the Bronx said this of her victim. She said, Savannah is a professional antagonist, not a reporter, and the truth will be told. I will not allow my image to be defamed by this woman's actions. Anyone who knows me knows how respectful I am. I don't even litter. There's no way you believe I'm punching people for disagreeing with my point of view. Lady, I do believe you would punch people because of their point of view because I've just been watching it. That's precisely what you did.
Wow.
Dear me. I think what these lefties need is a therapy. This next woman agrees with me, but she wants taxpayers or Trump supporters to pay for her therapy because she can't cope in the age of Trump.
All right, so here's what I want to know as an American for this repeated trauma that I'm going through and the rest of the world, to be quite honest. Asking for the world, who do we send our therapy bill to? Because now that you've dismantled the entire healthcare system, RFK Jr., you moron, what are we supposed to do? Oh, actually, are there any therapists left? They're probably not allowed to therapize us, right? Right?
I really do think it's high time that we made asylums great again. Forget about building the wall, build asylums.
Wow.
Talking about asylums, time to check in with MSNBC. Let's hear from Democrat operative Simone Sanders. Here she's crying for gangbangers being sent to El Salvador. Remember, the American taxpayer saves a fortune by housing these criminals in El Salvador instead of US prisons.
I would like to know who's the camera crew that was hired to film this propaganda and what company is literally exploiting the men in these videos for what? The men that you see in these videos that are dressed in white that the United States sent to El Salvador, your tax dollars are paying for them to be housed there. They didn't just pay for the flight. The tax dollars are paying for every single one of these men. Many of them, now innocent people who are not gang members.
Innocent people, she says. Yes, the sort of innocent people covered in gang tattoos, cavorting with criminals and in the country illegally. Time for a Scott Jennings special on CNN. This time he schools a Karen. No, really, that's her name.
So if we want to just keep
who's more popular right now, Donald Trump or congressional Democrats?
It doesn't matter. Donald Trump happens to be the president, doesn't he?
It doesn't. He's sitting at 50-50. You're sitting at 20-80.
He's at 48.50 actually, and increasingly people. Oh, okay. You want to call BP and tell them they're
call CBS News?
Sure. Okay. Okay. I mean, we're not going to go to that over. More importantly, we're not going to. His numbers are going. His approval ratings are going down.
Where are yours?
All right, we got to leave it there.
Now, this week
It doesn't
I'll be
matter.
bringing you
Yeah.
plenty of footage of the mass tantrum happening around America and in other countries as well. It's like it's 2017 all over again. Let's check out the crowd here and tell me if you notice something about these supposed pro-democracy protesters.
They're all old.
Yes, did you notice the number of boomers there, elderly folk? These are the people who benefited greatly from America being a manufacturing superpower once upon a time, who bought their homes at a reasonable price. They're protesting for the status quo. If you think the majority of Trump voters care about billionaires losing billions and the share markets diving, then you haven't been paying attention. Here are some sobering facts.
Goodness.
In the US, 93% of the stock market is held by just 10%. The top 10%, the bottom 50% of Americans hold only around 1% of all stocks and mutual fund shares. Now let's go to Senator Josh Hawley. He's had enough of paid activists and assorted lefty troublemakers. Here he turns the tables on Code Pink activists who are calling him a baby killer, and he reminds them of their funding from China.
You are the blood of Uyghurs on your hands, and I'm the blood of your baby killer. The Uyghur babies, their blood is on your hands. The blood of the Chinese is on your hands.
Yep, it's high time that these anti-Israeli mobs had got a taste of their own medicine.
Just as you hate it, right? You're a long ride. Oh, no. Yeah. Don't accuse me of things. You are taking their money, and that you are rapidly anti-Semitic. You are absolutely morally despicable. I look forward to one day the moral comeuppance that you will deserve. You are morally you are appalling. You're a patriot for the Jews.
I'm a healthcare worker. I save lives.
War criminal, baby killer.
I just love the way he said, so what, when she kept saying, I'm a healthcare worker. Like that gives her immunity from criticism for her abhorrent activism. Now, we've covered at length Disney's latest woke disaster, Snow White, a film that is bombing at the box office and one that is so bad that even Disney seems a little bit ashamed.
Well, let's go and bring the receipts. Let's go to imdb.com. It's real bad. Real bad. Snow White. It's like it's so bad. Yeah, 1.6 out of 10. Popularity. It says 1. What does that mean? I don't know how that's popular at a 1.6. Hold on. I'm trying to figure this out. So let's see, user ratings. It's got 301,000 rated it as a 1, 90.8%. You've got 9,700 that said 2.9, oh, 10%. Yeah, 2.9% of the people who watched it. Let's see if we can look and see real quick how much. What the world? Sorry, my Google is going crazy. How much has Snow White made so far at the box office? Okay, the 2025 live action remake of Snow White has grossed 168.6 million worldwide. According to Screen Rant, this is significantly less than its $270 million budget, leading to it being considered a box office flop. The film's domestic box office gross is reported to be 77 million. What do they say? Go woke, go broke. You had that idiot out there spouting all of her political views, and hey, people got sick of hearing it. Anyway, just thought I'd pull those receipts up. So let's keep going.
I'm scaling back the promotion dramatically. But listen here as the star, Rachel Zegler, does a massive.
You'll have to like just pay attention to this because she's like dressed like a little girl now. Like she's calmed down instead of when she was saying how she was like the Louvre. She was the wings of whatever. And it came to the Louvre in pieces. And people still lined up to watch her and wanted to see her come in. Blah, blah, blah.
Backflip. She's gone from bagging the original story to saying it's an example to admire.
That is part of the beauty of Snow White. It has been for 88 years now.
She's trying to clean up her attitude.
Everyone and everything. And I hope that I and so many people who watch this film can embody that as well.
And let's have a good news story. Watch this thief be chased and tackled to the ground.
Gets rugby tackles. My grandma.
And the humiliation did not end there. Watch Granny put the baddie in a headlock.
Oh my gosh. Dang. Wow.
Let's hear from the Democrats' rising star, Jasmine Crockett.
Oh, Lord.
Here she declares she wants illegal immigrants in the country because who else is going to pick the cotton, y'all?
I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
She's so stupid.
The fact is that none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands.
Dumb.
You're not.
You not.
We done picking
Ignorance.
We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
Ghetto.
So to be clear, she sees immigrants as some subservient class. Just in case you were wondering, she wants to import an underclass to do the work she considers beneath her. Now to leftist activist Kylie Brewer explaining common ways white people are racist.
Hi, my name's Kylie, and here are some things that white people say without realizing they're being racist. Number one, coming in hot, we have when a white person is telling a story and they mention the race of the person for no reason. That waitress, and then mention how she was Hispanic as if that somehow had something to do with her character.
Wait, what? So telling a story and mentioning the race of the people involved is racist? But only if white people do it. But if I'm telling a story as a woman of color and mention, for example, a silly white girl called Kylie delivering dark lectures about racism, that's perfectly okay. Let's get some more wisdom about racism from Kylie.
Number two, telling a story about someone from a different race and then doing an accent to make the story come to life. Number three, saying the N-word in rap music or other soft.
I am so sick of white liberals with their virtue signaling. This is so stupid. She's dumb. Don't listen to this girl. I mean, just have your conversation. I mean, I don't go around listening to rap music with the N-word in it. Thanks. Okay. I don't need you, a stupid child, telling me how to live and what conversations to have. Okay.
Because it's going too fast to skip it.
One, doing accents is awesome and funny. And if you like rap songs and sing the lyrics that the artist has written, that does not make you racist. I mean, come on. Now, this next guy shows how you deal with these lefties. He encounters a woman in traffic in a Make America Gay Again cap. Hilarity ensues.
I like your MAGA hat. Yeah, Trump.
That's gay.
Oh, I know.
Just like, that's gay.
Trump fan. Trump?
It says Make America
Gay again.
Great again.
Gay.
I know, but we love Trump, right?
She crashes out.
that is so amusing. Now, here's alleged comic John Oliver, one of the unfunniest nincompoops to ever call himself a comedian. Here he goes on some bizarre rant arguing that males really don't have an advantage in sport. I don't know why you even have men and women's categories then, John.
Bigger and stronger bodies are not automatically advantaged in every scenario. But the degree of difference here matters because we expect a certain amount of difference in athletics. Taller basketball players are expected to compete against shorter ones, faster soccer players compete against slower ones. Michael Phelps was allowed to compete with other swimmers despite being part dolphin. Unfortunately, none of the studies I've mentioned so far bear much relevance to what these new laws target, which is youth sports, usually of all ages. And the research there is even more scant. We have no research about how being trans or undergoing gender-affirming treatment impacts athletic performance in teens.
Yes, he really is that stupid and pathetic. A sad, well, sounds like a laugh track accompanying lies, half-truths, and gaslighting masquerading as comedy. Pathetic. But if you think that was the worst of it, well, brace yourself, because when this lefty loses it, he really loses it. Here he claims it's not the women being injured we should care about. It's the trans activists who are having their feelings hurt.
Just to be clear, I'm not happy to watch women experience injury, humiliation, and a loss of sporting opportunities. But that includes trans women and kids, and they seem to be getting hurt the most right now.
Yeah, but they're not getting injured though, are they, John? And funny, if there is no physical advantage, then why are we not seeing a whole bunch of women identifying as men competing in men's competition? If you think there is no difference between the sexes, then let me read out this one stat that brings it home even for the biggest simpleton among us, and I'm talking to you, John Oliver. The fastest female sprinter in the world is American runner Allyson Felix, a woman with more gold medals than Usain Bolt. Her lifetime best for the 400 meters is 49.26 seconds. Based on 2018 data, nearly 300 high school boys in the US alone could beat it. Now, that was from back in 2021, and I can tell you the sexes haven't changed that much since then. You know, even a broken clock is right twice a day, and even CNN occasionally allows truth and data to intrude on its 24/7 anti-Trump hysteria.
I think there was this concern among some folks that Donald Trump would come in for a second term and kind of be a lame duck. He ain't no lame duck. If anything, he's a soaring eagle. What am I talking about here? Let's talk about Trump executive orders in 2025. He's already signed 111 so far. That is the most at this point in a presidency in at least 100 years. In fact, it's the most in any single year, and we're only in April.
Oh, wow. The teeny tiny CNN audience doesn't want to hear that. The hosts don't want to hear it either. So naturally, the question had to be asked, does Trump have too much power with all those executive orders? Surely a big majority of Americans are worried about that. Turns out they're not, though.
Take it a step further, do the people think he has too much, but he's taken too much power?
Yeah, this I think is the real question, right? You can believe that he's doing stuff completely differently, but do you think that he has a little too much power or not? And this is interesting. So Trump's presidential power is too much, the right amount, too little. Well, 47% say too much, but then you get 36% who say the right amount. Then you get 17% who say too little. So you're essentially dealing with a majority of the American public, 53%, who do not say that Trump has too much power. They either says he has too little power or the right amount of power. So the idea, that argument that Donald Trump is quote unquote a king, that I don't think holds with the American people. It does hold maybe with 47%, but with the majority of folks, they believe Donald Trump's doing something completely differently, and they don't believe he has too much power. And the executive orders he signed certainly suggest he's no lame duck. He is, as I said at the beginning, a soaring eagle.
53 to 47%. Funny how that works. Now let's talk about Bill Burr, the once funny Bill Burr.
Now he's trying to backtrack too when he was saying basically whatever about stupid Elon. Well, he was saying stupid stuff about Elon Musk. Anyway, now he's acting like he didn't say it and that he, he's not credible enough to be speaking. Well, then shut up, dummy.
From being hilarious to being a hysteric, and is now backing away from his newly acquired lefty views. It was only a couple of weeks ago where he was railing against corporates and saying to free murderer Luigi Mangione.
You know what I mean? Because some corporate had to give himself a bonus check at the end of the year. What if we made it worse, but made it look the same?
Yeah.
Then could our pools be bigger?
Not
free Luigi!
But showing all the courage and consistency of a typical celebrity, Burr is now backing away from that sort of position, despite going on The View and railing against Donald Trump and Elon Musk. He now says he's not political.
No, I'm not going to just have some controversial moments so you can get clicks. I'm not doing that. I mean, I'm going to get a proponent. I'm not doing all of this. Up next in the Middle East. I went to summer school 3 out of 4 years in high school. I'm not qualified to talk about this.
I was just
what do you think about global warming?
You said about Elon that he was ruining Earth, I saw on The View. You're critical of him. What do you think of all the boycotts, like even the violence?
I don't watch the news. I don't watch the news. I have no idea what's going on. I watch Instagram. I watch people wipe out on motorcycles. I watch lions and hyenas fight each other. It's just the things that I do. And I don't think you should be asking a comedian.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't know anything about politics. He's not political, but he chose to go on The View and rail against the Trump agenda. Well done. Now, if you want to see real racism, then watch this. And sadly, it's not just this woman. More than $250,000 has been raised for this killer, Carmelo Anthony, who murdered an innocent, unarmed teenager. His name's Austin Metcalf, at a track event. Watch this woman justify Austin's murder. This is utterly sick.
Y'all not gonna make me believe or feel any kind of sympathy for Austin Metcalf at all. He put his hands on that young man when he should have kept them hands to himself. When the young man told him, touch me and see, you bet not touch me, that meant that I don't want you in my space, I don't want you touching me. Rosa Parks days is over. You cannot think that you can move somebody out of a seat that you don't own and think that it's going to be okay. And you can't determine how I'm going to retaliate on you when you put your hands on me in an aggressive manner. Austin Metcalf got exactly what he deserved.
We've avoided them
little
all
turds
week,
hanging
but
off her
alas,
head.
I can no longer ignore the weapon-grade lunacy of The View. The ladies have had another bad week. Well, there are no good weeks on The View, just differing levels of misery and madness. Let's hear from Joy Behar, who thinks Donald Trump is trying to destroy the country or he is trying to enrich his mates.
He's trying to destroy the country. Now, why is he doing that? Just as a person in the audience, like watching this.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of theories.
Yes.
First of all, if he tanks the entire what do you call
economy,
it? The stock market, then all his billionaire friends can swoop in and buy everything low. That's not an original idea. That's Hakeem Jeffries said that.
Genius analysis there, Joy. You really are a rare intellect. I mean, the people who lost the most money when the stock market dived were the elite, the richest. But let's hear more of this cunning examination.
Yeah. Today on Truth Social, Trump wrote, a great time to buy.
Yes, he did. And you were free to follow that sage advice, Joy. Plenty of folks did. Plenty of folks didn't panic and held on to their investments. And yes, the markets had a bumper day. The SP 500 soared 9.5%, its biggest gain since 2008, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped up 7.9%. How does that go with your analysis of Trump wanting to destroy America? Or this next bit of lunatic supposition?
People are starting to get mad.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
You want them to get mad.
But how mad will people get, and how broke will people get, and how many jobs will be lost? And then he can say, well, there's too much chaos, and now we're going to have martial law in this country, and he becomes a dictator. I mean, I don't know. That may be out of the bounds.
Anything is possible.
But it's possible.
Yeah.
So
They're so
somebody
stupid.
watching the news, that's what
Oh
I
my
see.
gosh.
You know, if you've got good friends around you, they are honest with you when you go off the rails. They don't feed your paranoid delusions. It's clear that Whoopi Goldberg is not a good friend to Joy because she encouraged that latest bout of crazy. She believes Donald Trump wants to crash the market so people go nuts and then he can institute martial law. Okay. I'll tell you who else has had a rough week. It's the worst vice presidential candidate in history, Tim Walz, aka Tampon Walz, Tampon Tim, a name he earned for putting tampons in boys' restrooms in schools across his state. Well, here he is in the Minnesota capital being booed by veterans, and for good reason, because Tampon Tim's other nickname is Stolen Valor Walls.
Welcome to the Capitol. It's great that you're here. Sir, you're welcome to come. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Did you hear the shouts of coward there? Let's hear from Tim in front of a far friendlier crowd here. He claims that we should celebrate success, but then he says we should demonize Elon Musk.
I think Democrats supporting families, supporting the working class, supporting unions, but I think we have to separate and have a message here. It's okay in America to be successful. What we should demonize is people like Elon Musk and those people that do that. And that's different.
Yep, try to make sense of that. You know what? Tampon Tim is going to be extra depressed today because Tesla shares are soaring. Despite the unhinged violent attacks we've seen, attacks that Democrats refuse to condemn, here is Chuck. Despite the unhinged violent attacks we've seen, attacks that Democrats refuse to condemn, here is Chuck Schumer.
What's your opinion of the violence against Tesla, their products? What are your thoughts on that? Do you denounce the violence against Tesla products and dealerships and cars in the streets?
We can talk about Tesla, but Elon Musk is a disaster for America, and America knows it. Look at Wisconsin.
What? Now, proving that misery loves company, let's check in with the hideous propagandist, George Conway. Remember when he was feeling joyful and gleeful? He was emboldened, defaming Donald Trump, believing that these sham trials were going to make Donald Trump unelectable?
He's a deeply disturbed, a deeply morally bereft human being who has no conscience, has no morality, has no empathy, has no remorse, and is sadistic.
Those were the days for George, but those heady, delusional days are well and truly over. Watch this 30-second compilation of George crying like a little girl. You're welcome.
I'm going to get moist-eyed here with him. So whatever it is that these people seem to be. And I went so far, actually, yesterday to Arnold and Porter. That also was very moving because something people want, and I wanted, and us. We're all in this together, rule of all. And some people just don't give it, and that makes me angry. And daughters of Judge Rifkin
And to another miserable aging dolt, here is techno dude Moby, who seems to think billionaire Donald Trump is really, really bad at business. He also seems to think that Trump supporters have regrets. Who's going to break it to him?
No regrets.
For the people who voted for Trump or have supported Trump, can you finally just admit you were wrong? Trump has spent his entire life bankrupting businesses, and now, surprise, surprise, he's bankrupting the United States. So look, we can move on, but if you supported Trump or voted for him, just please, finally, now, just admit you were wrong.
Now let's end with more weapon grade crazy from a host view. Sunny Hostin shows she can be just as irrational and race obsessed away from the View desk as she is on it. Here she argues that many blacks and women will not be able to participate in the democratic process if we have voter ID laws.
Yeah, and I showed y'all where the black people were disputing that. If she actually was around black people, she would know that they have to have an ID. They know how to get to the DMV. They're not irresponsible and whatever they're trying to claim. Don't try to fight for something you have no idea about, okay? Dumb.
Don't have cars, don't have driver's licenses. So it's sort of a vestige of, I think, post-slavery laws where black people had to
how is this not
their right
insulting
to vote, and oftentimes
to black
they
people?
couldn't vote because they couldn't pass some crazy test or they didn't have the appropriate ID.
She's just
it also
dumb.
affects women that are married. Maybe your passport reflects something that's different on your birth certificate or
I mean, usually as soon as you get married, you start changing your documents. So don't be dumb, okay? If you know, unless you're doing the hyphen thing or you're trying to be this independent woman, you're gonna change it. Duh. So freaking stupid. What a dumbass. I'm sorry. I just can't. Oh my
driver's
gosh.
license. So really the bottom line is voter suppression. And I agree with him 100%. It's a brilliant notion that less voter ID laws allows more people to vote.
Only problem, Sunny, is that we don't want more people who are not eligible to vote. And how bigoted of you to suggest that black folk and women don't have IDs. That's what they mean by the bigotry of low expectations.
Anyway. Oh man. Oops. Yeah. That's just should be insulting.